Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Okay, let's talk. This isn't going to be a nice talk. This is going to be a necessary one. Because far too many men go through their lives trying to figure women out like we're some kind of Rubik's Cube. Like there's some magical hack or universal formula that'll unlock our minds, our bodies, our emotions, our everything. And I get it. You're confused. You've been hurt, ghosted, manipulated, or maybe just overwhelmed by what you think is too much. But here's what nobody's ever really told you straight to your face. Women aren't complicated. You're just not listening. If you want real connection, deep intimacy, lasting love, the kind of relationship that's built on something stronger than sex or status or shared Spotify playlists, then it's time you learned what most men never do. I'm talking about the soft spots, the invisible bruises, the truths women rarely say out loud. These aren't weaknesses to exploit or fix. These are vulnerabilities to understand. This is what's going on beneath the surface. And if you ignore them, you'll keep wondering why your relationships keep breaking, even when you thought everything was fine. Here's the truth. Most women are tired of explaining themselves. Tired of pretending not to care when they do. Tired of being labeled as too emotional, too sensitive, too clingy, or too independent, depending on what version of her makes you feel the least threatened. We're exhausted, not because we're weak, but because we've been carrying a load you can't see. And sometimes we're doing it while trying to protect your ego too. That's the part nobody talks about, the emotional labor. The filtering, the constant calculations. How do I say this so he doesn't shut down? How do I bring this up without him thinking I'm starting a fight? How do I share how I'm really feeling without being told I'm overthinking again? When a woman is spiraling in her thoughts, it's not for drama. It's not because she wants attention. It's because she's been conditioned to scan the environment for emotional danger. She's reading your tone, your silences, your eye contact, or lack of it. That's not crazy. That's hyper-awareness. That's survival. And when you brush it off, when you laugh or call it nagging, you're not helping her calm down. You're confirming she can't trust you with her feelings. So she'll pull back, she'll shrink, and eventually she'll stop bringing things up. Not because everything's okay, but because she's already halfway out the door emotionally. Let me tell you something else. When a woman starts asking if you still love her, it's not because she doesn't believe she's lovable. It's because she can feel the space growing between you. Don't call that insecure. Call it intuitive. She wants reassurance not because she's needy, but because she's emotionally invested. She wants to reconnect. That question is an olive branch, and if you keep making her feel like she's begging for basic affection, that branch turns into a wall. And once that wall's up, you're on the outside, and don't confuse silence with peace. Some of the quietest women are the ones who have checked out the hardest. She doesn't cry anymore. That's not strength. That's numb. That's burnout. That's her realizing you're not a safe place for her truth. So she'll just keep it to herself. And that's how relationships die. Not with slamming doors or shouting matches, but with two people who stop reaching for each other. And let's talk about strength, shall we? You love how strong she is, until she disagrees with you, until she calls you out, until she doesn't need you, and suddenly, that independent queen energy feels like a threat. But here's the deal. Her strength didn't appear out of nowhere. It's forged, through heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment. Every strong woman you meet has had to become her own safety net at some point. And what she wants from you is not for you to outshine her. She just wants to know that for once in her life, she can exhale and stop holding everything together. That maybe, finally, she doesn't have to be strong all the time. That maybe, just maybe, someone's got her for once. Her body, that's another story. You think she's confident because of the selfies or how she walks into a room. But behind that might be years of shame. A lifetime of being told she's too much or not enough. Do you know how vulnerable it is to undress in front of someone who might be judging you? Do you know what a big deal it is when she invites you into that space, not just physically but emotionally? That moment deserves reverence, not performance, not commentary, not comparison, just presence, just appreciation. And here's the real kicker. Women notice everything, the long pause before you reply, the shift in your voice when you're lying, the way you suddenly get distant when you're hiding something. We know, we just don't always say it right away. We wait, we watch, we hope you'll come clean. We give the benefit of the doubt, not because we're naive, but because we want to believe the best in you. But once that belief is gone, there's no going back. So no, we're not puzzles to be solved. We're people to be seen, to be heard, to be honored. And this idea that women are too emotional or too complicated, that's a story men tell themselves so they don't have to do the real work of developing emotional strength. Because that's what it takes to truly love a woman, not just financial stability or being funny or good in bed. It takes emotional maturity. It takes learning how to sit with discomfort, how to hear hard truths, how to stay present when your instinct is to shut down or fix or run away. If you want to be a man who actually gets it, not just talks about it, then it's time to stop seeing a woman's vulnerability as a liability. It's a doorway, a gift, a raw, open invitation to connect, not control. Not conquer, connect. And if you're not ready for that, that's okay, but be honest about it. Don't pretend to be one kind of man while acting like another. Don't waste a woman's time if all you want is access without accountability. Because the women out here, they're waking up fast. They're learning to walk away from anything that makes them question their worth. And if you're not growing, you're getting left behind. This isn't about pleasing women. It's about knowing yourself enough to show up for someone else, about building the kind of partnership that actually stands the test of time. And if you can do that, if you can lean in when it's hard, listen when it's messy, and stay when it's uncomfortable, then you'll find something most people never do. You'll find real love, the kind that changes everything. And guess what? You deserve that too. Now get to work. When a woman overthinks, it's not a sign that she's irrational or insecure. It's a sign that she's emotionally invested, that she's paying attention, that she cares deeply. Overthinking is often a byproduct of emotional awareness. She's tuned in, analyzing details, trying to understand context, tone, behavior, and energy. It's not just about what you said. It's about how you said it, how long it took you to reply, what your body language looked like when you walked through the door. It's a constant scanning of the emotional environment because she wants to be prepared, safe, and connected. This isn't a flaw. It's a form of emotional intelligence, sharpened by life experiences, relationships, and sometimes trauma. The overthinking isn't random. It's rooted in patterns. Maybe you were silent for just a few hours, and she spirals into wondering what she did wrong. Why? Because in the past, that same silence meant distance, disapproval, or even betrayal. She remembers the moments you forgot. She links behavior to meaning because she's experienced how small things can precede big breakdowns. When she's replaying a conversation in her head, it's not because she's trying to catch you in a mistake, it's because she's trying to understand what's really going on underneath the surface. She's trying to decode the emotional subtext because emotional safety matters to her more than you may realize. When you dismiss her overthinking as crazy or too much, what you're really doing is invalidating her emotional perception. And that's dangerous because the moment a woman feels like her feelings are too much for you, she begins to pull back. Not because she wants to, but because her overthinking now has proof you're not a safe space for what she's really feeling. And then the gap between you grows. Emotional distance replaces connection, and she learns to stay quiet instead of staying honest. Over time, that turns into resentment, into withdrawal, into shutting down. Most women don't want to overthink. They want peace. They want to trust that what you say is what you mean, that your actions are consistent, that the ground beneath them is steady. But when they sense shifts, when words don't match energy, when your attention changes, when you go cold without explanation, the mind starts filling in blanks. Not because they're imagining things, but because their nervous system has been trained to prepare for the worst just to stay emotionally protected. If you want her to stop overthinking, you don't tell her to relax or let it go. You show her. You respond with clarity, presence, and consistency. You give her something solid to stand on. You meet her where she's at instead of judging her for being there. Because when a woman overthinks, what she's really doing is checking, am I safe here? Can I trust this? Can I trust you? That question sits at the root of her spiral every time. Understanding that is the difference between disconnection and depth. Emotional safety is the foundation for any meaningful relationship with a woman. It's not just a nice to have, it's essential. Without it, everything else, communication, intimacy, trust, crumbles under the weight of anxiety and emotional tension. A woman cannot show up fully, honestly, or vulnerably in a space where she feels judged, dismissed, or misunderstood. She might still be there physically, still talking to you, still going through the motions, but emotionally, she's holding back, calculating every word, protecting herself from being shut down or misunderstood again. Emotional safety is what allows her to let down her guard, to stop performing, to stop managing your reactions, and just be asterisk. When a woman starts opening up, really opening up, it's not always graceful or perfectly worded. Sometimes it's messy, emotional, even chaotic. That's not because she's being dramatic. That's because she's taking a risk. She's letting you see the parts of her that are raw and unfiltered, and what she's watching, more than anything, is your response. Do you interrupt? Do you get defensive? Do you shut down? Or do you lean in, stay steady, and hold the space without needing to fix or solve? Your reaction in those moments tells her whether it's safe to go further or whether she needs to retreat. A woman will only be as open as you are grounded. If she senses that her emotions overwhelm you, she will hide them. If she feels like your ego can't handle feedback, she'll stop being honest. If she sees that every serious conversation turns into conflict or criticism, she'll start avoiding conversations altogether. She's not avoiding connection, she's avoiding pain. Because without emotional safety, every word becomes a potential landmine, every truth becomes a test, and every vulnerability becomes a liability. It's not about agreeing with everything she says, it's about presence. Listening without rushing to defend yourself, sitting with her feelings even if they make you uncomfortable, being curious instead of reactive, and above all, making it clear, through your body language, your words, and your consistency, that you can handle her, that you want to understand, not escape, that she doesn't have to shrink or censor herself to keep the peace. When a woman says, "I feel like I can't talk to you," she's not being manipulative. She's letting you know the space between you has become unsafe, that her emotions have become something she has to manage around you instead of with you. And once that happens, the relationship shifts. She may still be around, still smiling, still sleeping next to you, but emotionally, she's already gone. She's stopped reaching for you because she's learned there's no soft place to land, and without that, vulnerability dries up. Intimacy fades and connection turns transactional. Silence is often mistaken for peace, but in many relationships, silence is the loudest warning sign there is. When a woman grows quiet, when her words become fewer and her reactions more muted, it's rarely because everything is fine. It's often because something inside her has started to shut down. At first, she may have spoken up. She may have tried to express her feelings, voice her concerns, ask questions, or start conversations about the things that felt off. But if those efforts were met with defensiveness, dismissal, or indifference, she learns that speaking doesn't lead to change. It leads to exhaustion. So instead of pushing for connection, she withdraws. Emotional disconnection rarely begins with a dramatic argument. It begins in the quiet moments when she looks at you and feels like a stranger, when you ask, "What's wrong?" and she says, "Nothing." Not because there's truly nothing, but because she's already played out the entire conversation in her head and knows it will go nowhere. She stops explaining because she's already done it 100 times. She stops asking for attention or affection because being denied it hurts more than being ignored. Her silence is not peace, it's protection. In the early days of a relationship, communication tends to flow. She feels safe, seen, engaged. But over time, if her emotional needs are consistently unmet, if she feels unheard, if vulnerability is met with criticism or apathy, she adapts by pulling back. She starts keeping things to herself. She stops sharing the small details of her day. She stops turning to you first when something exciting or painful happens. She becomes her own comfort, her own confidant. And while that might look like strength from the outside, it's often a sign of deep emotional loneliness within the relationship. Men often interpret this silence as relief, as if the drama is finally over. The fighting has stopped, the tension feels lighter, and things seem calm again. But what's actually happening is the emotional bond is breaking in real time. What used to be passion is now apathy. What used to be vulnerability is now guardedness. She no longer reacts because she no longer expects. She's not trying to fix anything anymore. She's detaching. Quietly, completely, and often permanently. It's easy to spot emotional disconnection once it's too late. When she no longer reaches for you, when she's physically present but emotionally vacant, when conversations become transactional, focused only on logistics, plans, or responsibilities, when you realize you know what she does every day but not how she feels. By the time a woman stops talking, the damage has already been done. Her silence is not passive, it's a decision, a response to repeated moments of being misunderstood or unseen. It's her way of maintaining dignity when the connection no longer feels mutual. And the tragedy is, in many cases, she didn't want silence. She wanted to be heard. She tried. But she was met with enough resistance that she decided silence was safer than the disappointment of speaking again. Strength in women is rarely something they were born into. It's something they built. It's forged through challenge, disappointment, rejection, and responsibility. When you see a woman who seems strong, confident, independent, and put together, you're looking at the result of years, sometimes decades, of pushing through moments when she had no other choice but to become her own anchor. That kind of strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from being let down and having to get back up, from not being able to rely on anyone else, from being told she was too much, too emotional, too intense, and learning to carry the weight anyway. What's often misunderstood is that a strong woman isn't strong because she wants to be. She's strong because life didn't give her the luxury of weakness. She's strong because she had to survive situations that taught her no one was coming to rescue her. She's strong because when others flaked, disappeared, or abandoned her, she learned how to be there for herself. That strength isn't about ego, it's about necessity. It's about doing the hard things when no one is watching. Showing up for herself, her children, her family, her work, even when she's emotionally drained. Men often say they want a strong woman, until they realize what that really means. It means she has boundaries. It means she won't tolerate disrespect. It means she asks hard questions and expects emotional honesty in return. It means she won't just sit quietly and smile when something doesn't feel right. Her strength is not passive. It's direct, and that can feel intimidating to someone who's used to being in control. But her strength isn't there to compete with you. It's there to protect the life she's built, the healing she's fought for, the peace she refuses to lose again. When she tells you she doesn't need you, that's not rejection. It's clarity. She's not asking you to save her. She's inviting you to walk alongside her, to support her not because she's broken, but because she's tired of always doing it alone. Her independence isn't a wall, it's a filter. She's not testing you, but she is watching. She wants to see if you're secure enough to be with a woman who knows who she is, a woman who doesn't shrink herself to make others comfortable, a woman who has learned how to choose herself, even when that means walking away from someone she cares about. Her strength might come off as intimidating, but underneath it is softness that only shows up in safe spaces. She still wants to be held, reassured, understood. She still wants to rest, but she won't collapse into someone who can't hold space for her fullness. She won't pretend to be weaker just to soothe your insecurity. What she needs is someone who sees her strength and meets it, not with control or competition, but with presence, consistency, and emotional depth. Presence matters more than performance. You can't fake connection, not with a woman who feels deeply. She's not just listening to what you say, she's reading your energy. She notices when your eyes drift while she's talking. She senses when your body is physically there but your mind is somewhere else. You can do all the right things on paper, bring gifts, plan dates, say the words she wants to hear. But if you're not emotionally present, none of it will land. Performance is surface level, presence is soul level. One is about looking good, the other is about asterisk being there asterisk. Fully, honestly, with intention. A woman knows when you're going through the motions. She can feel it in the silence that lingers too long. In the rushed "I love you" with no weight behind it. In the way you reach for her physically but don't ask how she's doing mentally. She can tell when your responses are automated, when your affection feels more like a habit than a choice. And the more she senses that disconnection, the more she starts to question the foundation of what you're building. Because no matter how much you provide or how smooth your words are, if she feels alone with you, it all starts to erode. Being present doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you always have the answers or know the right thing to say. It means you stay in the room, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You resist the urge to fix, to escape, to shut down. You meet her in the moment, even if the moment is messy, even if it's uncomfortable. Presence says, I'm not just here for the highlight reel, I'm here for the hard stuff too. And that's what builds trust. That's what makes her feel safe to be vulnerable, to open up, to soften. When a woman feels your presence, she relaxes. Not because you've solved all her problems, but because she doesn't feel like she has to solve them alone. She doesn't have to carry the entire emotional load. She doesn't have to over-explain or tiptoe around your moods. She knows she can show up exactly as she is and be met with steadiness, not strategy. And that's rare. That's what she's really looking for. Not someone who performs love, but someone who asterisk embodies asterisk it. In small moments, in quiet gestures, in staying when it would be easier to walk away. You can't buy presence, you can't rehearse it. You earn it by doing the internal work, by learning how to be emotionally available even when it feels unfamiliar. By training yourself to listen without interrupting, to validate without defensiveness, to hold space without trying to control the outcome. Performance is often about trying to impress. Presence is about making someone feel seen. And that difference is everything in a woman's heart.